Hello everyone, I'm shooting this new to Python. Uh, as you can see on Moodle, we have let me show you Moodle first. On our Moodle page, we will have the PowerPoint presentations under Getting Started with Python. So I'm going to start with this set of slides. It is called 2A, Getting Started with Python. And these are the topics that we're going to cover in today's video very quickly. All right. So first of all, I would like to talk about how to insert first of all, let me tell you what I did. So first, you're gonna go to your Jupyter notebook, and then once you open that, I would like you to create. Of course, you will have here. Let me show you what you get something like this, and then get into the Anaconda 3. So first of all, double click the Anaconda 3 and then create a new folder. This folder will be called untitled folder. Here in my case, it's untitled one because I did it twice. So untitled folder. So look for the untitled folder and then check that and rename it. All right. What you rename it something meaningful. Start with a 0 so that it is on top, so it's easier for you to find it and navigate through. So I renamed it to 0 Big Data Analytics course. Then open this, and now you are ready to create a new Python notebook, and this is what I got. And this new Python notebook is called Untitled. No, we don't want it to be called Untitled. Let's call it the same as the set of slides. It's easier for you to study. So we're going to call it something like 2A Getting Started with Python. So let's call it the same thing. 2A Getting Started with Python. Perfect. And then rename. Now, I want to talk about, for example, here, the interface. You can remove a cell. Where is this removing a cell? Remove a cell, just delete, right? Okay, so over here you can just remove a cell. You can cut the cell or remove it altogether. You can do that. And now this is how you start. Okay, so this cell is a code cell. How do I know that? You can know that by memorizing that there is here a certain what do we call them, square brackets here, and there's in a certain square bracket. So this means that this is a code cell. So there are three different cell types. There's a code cell, and there is a markdown cell, and there is a row NB convert. So in any case, as you can see here, the code cell is Y, and the markdown means a text. You can enter a text. So contents will be rendered as HTML and serve as explanatory text. So it's like comments if you want, but in an explanatory text. You can also add comments into and in within the code cell, but sometimes I like to add the titles, the subtitles in a markdown cell. Okay, so how do we use this shortcut M? As you can see in my set of slides, here I talk about Jupyter, and let me just switch here. You can hit the escape and the M button to switch to the markdown cell. So let's use it on the screen. Here is escape button, and hold down the escape button and M, and now this is a markdown screen. So we can just call it introduction to Python. And then if you hit enter, nothing, actually you're gonna get a new line. But if you hit shift enter, then you can move to the next cell, and the default is a code cell. Where do I get the shift enter from? Well, you can hit run if you want, then you will get an extra cell, or you can just follow my slides. In my slides, the first thing I explain is hitting the shift enter just hold them together to execute commands. Do you remember the word execute? So we execute any command doing so. So let's get started. First of all, I would like us to start with installing, we're probably not going to use the pandas library today. So let's just start so far with, let's see where we, how much we go through. So it's, okay, now so let's get started with the print over here, the print function. With the print function, it's like any other function as explained in class. With the print function, it's a function, right? And it's not a capital letter. So if it's a function, it needs two libs. Once you open one lib, it will close to the other lib, and you need to put the text in quotes. You can put my name is Nora, and now you can run this, and this is the code that you get. Or you can actually use double quotes if you are used to it, and then you get the same thing. So the print function prints, so you see the output, this is the output. This is where you wrote the code. So this is the code that you've written. As you can see, print is in green. This means that it is a correct function. And then there is two libs. These libs are fed with the text, and this text is in red, okay? And this is a string value. All right, so the output is basically what's in between those two brackets. So my name is Nora is what's in between. Okay, this is easy, code. Let's talk about different variables. The first variables in Python is integer variables. And as the name implies, a variable, its value varies. So this is not equal, but if you sometimes I just say equal, it's just because I got used to it. As you can see, it is in purple. But this is basically I is assigned a value of, and then you give it a value. So I is assigned a value of 4. Okay, equally, what do I have? I and what? Let me just follow the slides as is. I have, I have I is assigned a value of 4. So you can, if you want, write a comment after this and say I is an integer. Or you can, you remember from our class, you can write a note, a comment, an explanatory comment in the code field, or you can add it here, or you can actually take this all together and put it, I is an integer variable. Why? Because it was assigned an integer. So because it was assigned an integer, so it takes the integer value. So let's say I would like to know the type of I. So I'm going to use the function here, type of I, and then it's telling me it is int, which refers to integer. Okay, so this is a type of I is an integer. So as you can see so far, Python is not that difficult. You know that a print will print whatever inside it. Type will give you the type of whatever inside it, a variable inside it. And this variable should be, in fact, already defined. So because it was assigned, yeah, an integer. So it was already defined. So let's define I as a variable by assigning a value to it. So this is how you define it. Okay. Good. It's already defined, means it's already assigned a value. Oh, one more thing. Let's see what happens if we type in I alone. What happens? What's the output? The output is going to be the value assigned to it. Okay. Well, can we do 4 plus 5 and see what happens? Yes, we could. So I now is not only, is still a variable, but this variable takes the output of this summation. Can we do -1, for example, also? Yes, we could. So basically, I is some storage also container. You can think of it. I is any storage container that you can store in it whatever a value as an output of any calculation on the other side of the equal sign. So whatever happens beyond this equal sign, the output of it will be stored in this little container called I. Okay, all right. So sorry, let's continue. What else do we have? B. The second type of variables I would like to talk about is the Boolean. Okay, Boolean is either true or false, right? So let's take a look. What is the difference between not I, let's say x. X is equal to true, yeah? And now it's going to give me an error, by the way. And x is equal to true. Oh, look. Over here, as you can see on the screen, x is equal to true. True with a small t is actually black font, but this is green font. So, in fact, if you want to assign x to any value as 1 or 0, true or false, a Boolean variable you want it to be, then you definitely need t to be in capital. So what happens here? Over here, you know that x is true. X in this case, let's return. It gave me an error. I thought that it should give me an error. True is not defined. Look, it's not defined. Maybe we need the quotes. So let's see what happens if we define it correctly. Oh, now it's red. What's in red usually? Maybe a text. So now x is true, gave me true. But let's take a look at x is equal true in capital. And then let me return x. X will be true, but not true as in text. Do you see that? It's not an integer. Let's say here y and y. You know why? Because you know why. I want to insert here a cell. I want to add one more type code, one more line of code. So I'm gonna insert here. What's happened? I want to insert it where? I want to insert it. Okay, let's insert here. So I want to, sorry, I put this, but actually you need to go to insert here and insert, I think below, yes. And this one, I now want to ask the computer, what is the type of y? And it's going to give me Boolean. It's going to give me bool means Boolean, like int, integer. So how about here? What is the type of x? It should give me string. Wait a minute. A string, yeah. So I'm sorry, maybe x was already it wasn't run again. It was okay. When previously this was x, right? So x was assigned the value true. Then I put y is assigned true. X was still stored in the computer as true with a T capital, because I did not run this code properly maybe. So because of that, you need to make sure that you run the code in a proper order. Okay, so type of x here is a string, means a text. Okay, so this is easy so far. So we have an integer type, we have a Boolean type, we have a string type. This is the beginning of learning Python. Let's talk about now advanced variables. Advanced variables, like the variables that you study in the math for business and economics. The first one is, in Python, we call it a list of numbers, like integers or floats, as well as a list of strings. Oh, wait a minute. Let me just add a float here. So this is Boolean. And now let's say that z is equal to 1.9. So what is z? What is the type of z? Sorry, what is the type of z? It's a float. A float means it has decimal number. We now done with all the basic variable types. Now, let's talk about advanced Python variables, like a list that we explained in the previous lecture. So let's define this list or this array. A list in Python is like an array in the NumPy library. So let's define I, or actually it's L, for list, or I'm going to put it as an L capital. L is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and now when I run the code, L is saved into the cache of the computer, into the computer memory as this list. Okay, now printed is going to give me print I, or give me I is going to give me the same output type of I. Let's see what type I is. Actually L, sorry. Type, it's a small type of L here is a list. In NumPy, this would be an array. Okay, so if you find me sometimes saying list or an array, mathematically it's an array. Okay, now let's talk about what happens. What is the index? The index of a variable, any variable here in this list. So either, oh, sorry. So over here, I have L, and this is the output. It's given to me. If I want to actually refer to a certain number here, we can refer to it by its index. Okay. How is that so? Well, I am not really concerned with the list for my class. So I'm going to leave it for you to go to attend other Python classes and courses with other professors and get to know more about lists. But I'm really concerned with a data frame. And as I explained in the previous lecture, a data frame is nothing but, it could be understood as a list because every element has a key or an index also. It is a certain arrangement of numbers, and also it looks like a matrix in mathematics, the data frame. We're going to talk about it in a bit. In mathematics, we have data frames. It looks like a matrix in Microsoft. It's like a Microsoft Excel 2D table. It has columns and rows. And in mathematics, this is like an array, and in Python, an array is like a list. Do you understand how it is connected? Now, another very advanced data type with Python is a dictionary. A dictionary is an unordered collection of items defined by enclosing, as you can see. A dictionary could be defined by saying the word dict. Dict is not a word, it's a function. So you can define it by a function called dictionary. And of course, any function has two lips. And then inside there, you can add as many as you can see. It's like a list of things. Okay. And how about if I don't want to use the function? If you don't want to use the function, basically just say it is equal, and instead of the two lips, because there's no function for, you're not using a function, so you're not going to use the two lips, you're going to use the curly brackets. Do you see the difference here? So over here with the dictionary, you are actually using the curly brackets, but when you're using or defining a dictionary with the variable, with the function dict, D-I-C-T, refers or stands for dictionary, then you need the two lips. Let's do this. All right, so let's say that a dictionary is equal to dict. Oh, it's in green, so I'm on the right path. Oh, these are the two lips. Don't put two curly brackets. What are you gonna put here? You're gonna put the list brackets. All right, so now a dictionary, as we explained in the previous lecture, made up of a key and a value. All right. Maybe I would like the key to be a student number. So even though it is in a number, it's in number format. In fact, it is still an ID. So I'm gonna put it like this, and then we separate the key from its value through the following. So I'm maybe gonna say Nora Cherkassi, and then that would be the proper definition of this. So what do I do? This is one record. Okay, this is the ID and this is the value. Before I proceed, let me see. There's an error. Oh no, what happened? I put a colon here. Oh, aren't we supposed to have a colon in between? Let's see. So when we have here, we don't need a colon. As you can see, you just need a comma. When do you need a colon? You need a colon when you don't use the dict function. So do you see the dict function? So these are the differences. So this method, when you're using the dict function, you just use the two lips. It's a list and each record is actually enclosed in brackets, 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 and here separated by a comma. But if you don't use the dict function, then you're going to use the curly brackets and then you have the key and its value and then you separate everything with a comma. As you can see, I like to organize my code in multiple lines. Do you see? This is for readability. So dict has a mouth here and closes in a mouth. I need a list for the function. The function takes it's just built in. It's by design. Yeah, it's by design that this function, when you feed it, when you feed this function, dict, when you feed it food, it doesn't eat meat. It eats list. It eats a list. Do you see this list? Okay, good, good, good. And this list is more advanced data type, let's say, because each number here is not even a number. It is multiple values. It's this, 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 and the first value is the key. All right? Okay, okay, okay. So let's get started again. Shan't we do the same as what I did earlier? Okay, we can do that. In fact, how about I just do this, and then as Nora said, each entry here will be enclosed in, and let's put this to the end, and let's say that each entry will be in between two brackets, and here is comma. And let's add here, we say teacher. Of course, because everything here is a text, yeah? Okay, and over here we start another ID, and then we say this is Roman Casco, and we say, for example, student, for example. And now let's run it and see if we have any problems. Oh, look at this, it's a tuple. Perhaps you missed a comma. Oh, what did I miss? Well, you missed a comma over here because, in fact, these can't look like this. You need to, in fact, separate it with a comma. So now we have also another error. Dictionary update sequence element, whatever, has a length of 3, 2 is required. Aha, I see. So over here, I need maybe, you might think that this error is answered by this, okay? And then you say Victoria, and you say, sorry, student. Okay, would this work? I don't think so. Why? Let's read really what's happening. First of all, the key is supposed to be in red, and the rest is not supposed to be in red. Over here, I have a problem. Everything is in red. Look, when you're studying, I want you to see. This is in red. Can't you see? Yeah? And this is not in red. Ah, I see. So, there is no numerical value. If I put here Okay, so now there's a numerical value. Maybe now it's gonna work. No, it's not. You know why? I have two reds, two keys. Do you see? Dictionary update sequence element has length 3, 2 is required. 3, 2 is required. What does this mean? This is an element. Yeah, this is an element. It is clearly telling us has a length of 3. Do you see that? So 1, 2, 3. This is the length of this 1, 2, 3. But 2 is required. So maybe I don't need 3 entries here. I just need 2. Let's check. Aha, so this is what it meant. Okay, so this is, I'm taking you through a different mental process that I've been learning from my students in the past. How do they read the error and how do they interpret it? So this is why when I told you I need to teach you element, object, module, class, you got me why I was focusing on all this, because it could help you with the troubleshooting. Now, with the troubleshooting, we were able to understand that this element length, what is the length of the element? Is the number of instances. So over here, this element, yes, how long was it? It had 3 different entries or parameters. Now that we got rid of one of the parameters, we are just fine. So let's take a look at the output. You see the output is in curly brackets. Let's write the same thing, but here we say dict is equal, and let's type the same thing in curly brackets. How different this could be. So this thing, same exact thing, we can take it, yeah, and as you can see, instead of these, yeah, I'm gonna get the colon here. You see, sorry, where is the colon in my keyboard? Here it is. So I'm gonna get a colon. Okay, okay. And we have commas. These are good. But do we need these lips? That is the question. So let's say, oh, invalid syntax. I still have an invalid syntax here. With the colon. How is that so? Professor Nora said we add 2 curly brackets and everything is all right. Okay. Is this is okay? I don't think so. But let's see. Maybe it's okay. No, I don't think so. Maybe it's okay. What would... So sometimes the error messages are very tricky. Okay? The error message tells you the syntax error is here. Do you remember? Let me show you. Let me show you the error message that we received. I know that it could be sometimes tricky to troubleshoot. So let's take a look. Invalid syntax. Look at this little caret here. It is pointing out, this little thing here is pointing out that the problem is here. You maybe think that I need to change this. Well, let's see. Maybe we could. Look, let's follow it up. Maybe we could. Oh, actually we could. Oh, Nora Sensei, Nora Sensei has teach us wrong. Well, let's see. Do you see? Do you see what's happening? Okay, listen. This is alone. Nora has the value 125. Here's Nora has the value 125. But what happened to all these? Why are these here 123 and 124 and then Roman and Victoria? Wait, listen. First of all, you didn't put it in brackets as you are supposed to. You didn't put it in brackets as you're supposed to. So when you put it in brackets, oh, now it's as you believe it should be. Nora has this value, Roman has this value, Victoria has this value. So be careful with the brackets. Okay, another thing. But professor, in your slides, you gave us a semicolon. There are multiple different ways of doing things. you can use the same exact thing here, as you can see, but instead of using dictionary and in tulips and square brackets, you can just have the curly, or you can get rid of these. Yep. And just, I will call it like a naked way. Uh-oh. Of creating things. And just the very simple and basic way of creating things. And now, here it is. Nora Sharkasi, this value, Nora, this guy is this value, and this person is this value. Easy peasy. Okay? So there are multiple ways, either using the dictionary function or not using it. If you're using the dictionary function, there's a must. You need to use these. Is it? Maybe Nora Sensei is wrong. Let's see. Tip, 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 and instead let's add these. And now you are going to be surprised. Let's see. Oh, no, it's giving me here a syntax error. Oh, no. So, ne, it can't be used this way. Now, some of you might say, okay, what if I add here the curly brackets instead? Maybe it will work. Aha! So, ne. So, it did work. It did work. So, what does this tell you now? This tells you the following. With the curly brackets, you always use the semicolon. With the curly brackets, you always use the semicolon. With the square brackets, as you can see here, with these lovely square brackets, you will have to use, as in the slide, you will have to use the elements in each and every one, and you don't use the semicolon. So this is why programming sometimes is a little bit tricky, because you have to memorize little things, and I honestly not sure how difficult you are being taught this part in Python course, but the idea is not that difficult. You just need to write your notes with me and say when you are using the curly brackets, you are going to use the semicolon, and basically you can take this whole thing and feed it into the dictionary function. Yeah? Or why do you need then the dictionary function? You don't need it then. So this is my idea. So this is why you probably notice that I am explaining everything here. Yeah? Do you see that? And you probably, when you read the slides on your own, this is why you need me, basically. So I acted as if I am one of my students and I am learning on my own. So you probably thought that this is one way of doing things and this is the other way. If you are a little bit kind of curious and you started going through the code exactly like how I did with you right now, then you will find out there's much to say in this slide. And this is what you're missing if you don't watch my videos or you don't come to my course or my class. So again, please be careful, but it's the same thing. However, I am not really concerned with this in my course. What I am really interested in is the following. How to print it. How to print this dictionary. Okay, so print D. Can we do that? Yeah, it's going to print the same thing. Oh, okay. So a print dictionary is going to be the same thing. Yeah, maybe that would be, look, because I didn't run this, I changed the name, right? I didn't run this, now it's going to give me an error. You see, this name is not defined. Why? Because I did not execute this. Executed with the shift enter, executed with the shift enter, everything is all right. So be careful. Sometimes you did exactly the same thing, but I'm having an errors. Why? Because you forgot to execute after making changes. Okay, so now Let's take a look. Print D Nora. This is what I want from this. Okay, wait a minute. Let's write one. Okay, so I want to print. Yeah, if I put here Nora, do you see? It's going to give me Nora, right? So, but Nora here is, as you can see, wait a minute here. I want to put, for example, it's an ID number. I don't want to print Nora. I want to print dictionary of Nora. Oh, not like this. Do you see why I gave you this square brackets method? Because, what happened? Wait a minute. It is D capital here. So it is the name of the dictionary that Nora exists in. Okay? Wait, this is not Nora. Oh no, so many mistakes, Nora-san. First of all, this D is not defined. Is this what it says? Name D is not defined. Now you understood what does this error means. Why it's not defined? Because it is a D capital. Okay, let's fix it. Here's D capital. It's gonna give me another error. You know why? Because this is Nora and this is Nora Cherkasy. Let's see what kind of error says. Key error. Now, because you took my course and you understood that the first instance here before the semicolon is actually called the key for the dictionary. It's a key. It should be unique ID, unique key, we call it. So, key error. There is no key, no such a key called Nora, but there is a key called Nora space Cherkasy. But what if Cherkasy is in S small? Error again. So you need to be careful. It should be exact match. Okay, so ne. So why Nora-san did all this explanation for? Why I like to show this and explain it? Because of these square brackets. This means, you guys, let me duplicate this cell. Let me show you how to duplicate a cell. You have to go all the way up to copy. There's no duplicate, you just can copy. So you copy the cell, then insert a cell below, and now you can just paste it. Oh no, just copy the traditional way. Okay, so now I want to use the verb dict, and wait a minute, something happened here. We already have it. Do you see what's the problem? You need to memorize. It's small, not capital. Actually, I need to copy this one. It's okay. I want to use the other. And now I want the square brackets. And then for each element, I'm gonna in-house it in. First of all, I'm gonna change the semicolon now because I'm not using the curly brackets. And don't forget that you need these columns no matter what at the end, but not at the very last element. The very last element does not require a column, a colon. Okay? It doesn't, not a colon, a comma, sorry. So you need a comma to separate the elements, but the last element, in fact, looks like this. You close it. Yeah? It looks weird to you like this. It seems like there's nothing here. So you don't need the element here. So let's see, this one will give me also a successful output. So why I like to teach this one? Because I want to tell you that there is a verb called dict, which is not a verb, sorry, a function dictionary. And this is square brackets. These square brackets means it is a list. So remember, here L is a list, it's an array. So basically it is an array here. This is two-dimensional array, as you can see, and it tells me this is the key and it's this value, this is the key and this value, this is the key and its value. Yeah, so this is quite interesting, isn't it? And over here, as you can see, you can refer to any value. You can return or fetch any value for a key. As for this key, for example, Nora Cherkassi, you can fetch this value through using the name that the output where you stored the output. Here you store the output in dict, and then you put the key in, embrace it with the square brackets, and then you can print the output or fetch the output. Okay, so basically a dictionary, we could think of a dictionary of as a list. Yeah, a dictionary like a list. Okay. How about now what I really would like to talk about, which is the data frames. All right, now this is also again another example of a dictionary. This is the first name is Nora, last name is Cherkassi, age is 36, siblings is 4. Now this dictionary, as you can see, this is the key, and this is the value. So this is, for example, the variable first name, and this is the value for it. This is the last name, and this is the value for it. This is age, and this is the value for it, and so on. Okay, if you enhance these in as you can see here, if you have multiple here also N1, Nora 2, Kofi 3. This is also an example of a dictionary, but in reality, in real database management, the key here will be whatever variable, and this is the value that it takes. Okay? Okay, wait. Where are we? Okay. I'm sorry. We are way over here. Almost done. Okay, so my D, and then is nothing in there. Type is of my D is a dictionary, even if it doesn't have anything. My D, if name, will return if name. My D, if name equal Nora will actually add this to the dictionary. My DL name equal to Cherkassi. My D, for my D that was empty, if you add age, my D age. What is this? What I'm trying to say is, if you define my D as my dictionary and it's empty, you can insert or input data, input data into this dictionary through referring and also at the same time defining the keys. So you can define a key by using a list kind of square brackets. My dictionary, okay, which key I want to define now? I'm going to define something called if name, first name, and I'm going to give it the value Nora. My dictionary, I'm going to define a certain name. So please remember this is square brackets, yes, and in between the quotes. In the future, even in the data frame, we are going to be able to see how we can use this more often in data frames than you could imagine. The idea of referring to a certain entity, a column in the data frame by the square brackets, and of course this method of reference. Okay, so this is all what I want to explain. Next is going to be conditional statements. In conditional statements, I would like you to read it on your own and follow the examples and follow the explanations. I think most of you know the if-else statement, and this is something similar. Please follow the code here, and that would be the first assignment that you need to submit. So you need to follow the code for the loops, for the if statement, conditional statements, and for the while loops. Let me just say the difference. Conditional statements, as in the if statement, you are testing a condition. So over here, you define, for example, I to be assigned to a value 4, and then you want to test a condition. So you want to say if I is actually equal to 1, print I is equal to 1. And the output would be nothing unless I is equal to 1. Condition is correct. I is equal to 4. If I is equal, so test if I is equal to 4. So if I is equal to this value 4, then print I is equal to 4. So the output will be I is equal to 4, and then there's no output here. Okay. Now, the elf keyword in Python's is Python's way of saying if the previous conditions were not true, then try this condition. So if you define A so that it is assigned 33, B assigned 33 too, and then you want to test the condition if B is greater than A. Well, this condition is not true. So you will not execute this because this condition is not true. B is not greater than A, so the condition is not true. So go ahead and jump to the next line. Else if, this if is else if. Else, do the following. If this condition is true, yes, the condition is true, 33 is equal to 33, print A and B are equal. So write this code and hit Shift Enter and see what would be the output. So for example, don't copy like how am I copying, you need to train. So for example, you write the code, look, if you copy it, it will look really weird. So over here, this is equal to this. If this is equal to this, you need a new line, print this. Do you see how there is indentation? You need to look after. Else do this and print. This will not run nicely. You see? There's a syntax error. Why? I'll tell you why. A is equal to 33, and this is equal to 33. Okay, so let's take a look. There's no problems here. Okay, so if A is greater than this, then print this. Else if print this. Maybe the indentation is wrong. So if B non-printable character. What's going on? So the indentation is a problem here. So so if B is greater than A, print. Else if print. Oh, maybe I need to print like that, and I need to print like this. Maybe Nora-san is wrong. There's still a syntax error, and it's here. First of all, let's take a look. This is equal if B is greater than A, then you see the indentation. Else if, then see the indentation. So this should work really beautifully. But there's no indentation here. And this should be here. And now let's try. Still the same problem. That's quite interesting. Did I miss out on something? What's the problem? Here is if, and it's in blue. B is greater than A. Then print this. There is, as you can see, always a colon that I forget most of the time when I write the if statement, and I put a comma. So please be careful. If you're doing other programming languages, you might make some little mistakes here and there. But in Python, you need a colon here, okay? And over here, you need also a colon for each condition that you test. How about the if statement here? This if statement also needs a colon for testing the condition. Okay. So this means that you're testing a condition, and this means you printing, you know? Okay, so I shouldn't have a problem here, really. Well, this is what happens when you copy from the slide. How about if what happens if let me just get rid of this. If b greater than a, you see it gives me the indentation. Okay, I don't need anything here. Then be careful, you need to come back. But let's say that you kept going. A is equal to b, and then you say print a and b are equal, as you know. Okay, let's say that you followed, you see. So it is here telling me that there's a problem here, invalid syntax. Most likely, if you are sure that everything is all right, it is the indentation, and now it's going to print where the condition is correct. So this is why I do not recommend that you copy and paste from the slides. Do you see? I wrote the same exact code, but I didn't copy and paste, excuse me, from the slides. So now it is working well. So these are little things that I wanted to talk about. The indentation is very important, as you can see, and the nesting or the indentation is very important when you're doing the if statements. If the condition is here, then you actually telling me what to do. Then test this, same level. Then you need indentation. Same applies here. If print elif, print else. Oh, so if you have one condition here, alternative condition to test, you use else if. But if you have a third condition also to test, you need else. So the logic is if, else if, and then else. All right. How is this is easy because it resembles very much the also these are little assignments, you need to work on them. These resembles, of course, the Excel. Now let's talk about loops. Loops, basically they keep looping until you end it. Keep looping. So here you defined a list, an array with these values. For x in fruits. Basically, fruits is the list. X, you are defining that each element here is an X. Print X. You see? So what X would be? Let's see if this will work if we if we copy. Fruits are here. So for X in fruits, print again giving me a lot of syntax problems because I copied from the slide. So this is why I'm telling you, please do not copy from the slides. You're getting a lot of syntax problems unnecessarily, you guys. It's gonna keep giving me a syntax problems here. At least let's define the fruits, and then for X in where in fruits. Do I need a colon here? Do the following. Print. I forgot what to print. I forgot what is it that we're doing. Print X. Okay. So you need the colon because this is testing a condition. Now it works. It's the same thing, you guys, but please do not copy. So now it's printing everything. Print X. So it loops. This until the list ends, or until you give it a condition that it ends. So fruits, for X in fruits, Now you are going to nest in it the for loop. You're gonna nest in it an if statement. You say if this x is equal banana, continue, and print x. What does continue does? You need to take a look. Continue, in fact, will give you here from banana onward. Okay, so I is equal to 1. While loop, not the for loop now, the while loop. If you want to increment, while I is less than 6, print I. Then what to do? Okay, I is 1, for example. You created a list. Let's say I is equal 1 to 5 as we did earlier. We already created here, defined a list called I, didn't we? No, I was actually an integer, so it's not a list. So let's put L, for example. L is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So please be careful. If now you are using I and you're thinking why it's not working, it's because I already have you already defined I with me as a number. So please be careful. Now the computer knows that I is stored equal a number, but you put here I is equal 1, so now it's going to give it a new value. It's going to assign a new value to it equal 1, so it's okay. So if I is equal to 1, while I is less than 6, is I is less than 6? Yes. Print I, okay, 1. Then do this, I plus equal. Plus equal is to increment. So now is I gonna be incremented 1 and it will be equal to the new number. This is what plus equal means. It means that you're gonna increment 1, not 2, not 3, not 5 to I, and I will be assigned this new number because I is a variable. Yeah, it could take as many numbers, floats, whatever. So now I, instead of 1 being 1, is going to be equal to what? It's going to be equal to 2. So now I is not going to be equal to 1. I is actually incremented by 1. So it's now I is equal to 2. Is 2 less than 6? Yes. So print 2. So the computer will print 2. All the way until 5, until I incremented and equals to 5, for example. Then 5 plus 1 is equal 6. Is 6 less than 6? No. Then you stop. You see that? Then you stop. Okay. Perfect. So this is basically what I want to cover. And I feel that this is basics of Python. Most of the students who are taking Python 1 or 2 or 1, they probably taking the defining their own variables. So they are defining a certain, sorry, not variables, function. They're diff is define my function. And any function in the universe needs 2 lips because you need to feed it certain parameters, food, and always a semicolon. And then this function print hello from a function. So when you type in my function here, you see this function here, print hello from a function. My function is hello from a function. Actually, you can define a function also in different other ways. You can define a function says add 2, and then this function takes x. Okay, then you say y is equal this x plus 2. So you need to provide this function an x. So return y. I is equal 5. Okay, so add 2i. Add 2 to 5, it's going to give me 7. So this I is not supposed to necessarily be x. It becomes this x. X is something generalized. X could be I, Z, Y, T, K, X. And then return Y. Do you see the idea here? The idea here, you define a function that adds 2 to any variable it's in its mouth. But I need to tell the computer a name of this variable. Yeah? Over here, I said my function and then I kept it empty. You know why? Because I used here another built-in function. But over here, I need an input. Over here, I kept it empty because I don't need an input. So my function doesn't need an input. Unless you are thinking of it in such a way, my function x print x, then it doesn't make sense. Why do you need a function for that? or x, this is my entry or something like that, and you put an x, you attach it to it, embedded it. But for now, it's okay. I will explain this in due course when we need to do it. So, but for now, I just want you to take the easy way. This function, it doesn't require you to add to input anything, to feed it anything. You just call the function. We say call the function. You just call the function that you define. So when you call it by calling it my function, and don't forget that every function in any universe takes the two lips even if they are empty, then it will give you the return. It will return what it's in its belly. Okay, this function, on the other hand, it requires an input from your side as a user. So in general, this is, I generalize. So add to student. I don't want to say Jana. I don't want to say Victoria. Yeah, I don't want to say the name of the student. I just say in general, it's a student. Well, the student could be variable, any student. Yeah. So add to any variable. Here we just call it x, you can call it whatever. And then you say, for example, x plus 2. Actually, this, you can write it differently. I'll tell you. I don't want to confuse you, but I'm just helping you through these very quickly. Listen, lovely people, I want to show you line by line the difference, okay? Look at this. For example, if Nora is going to write this line of code, I won't write it this way. I wrote it this way, diff add to any variable x I am giving to you. How, semicolon, how? I will say return immediately x plus 2. Okay? And then no problems. Do you see, lovelies? Add 2, I will say 2, 5. Now it's going to give me 7. Here we go. I don't need all this. So what is this? This is nothing. X plus 2, I used it as is here. X plus 2. Return x plus 2. So it's going to give me the same thing. But usually you will have longer code here. And then most of the time in Python, we like to kind of x plus 2, for example, if it's a longer code, or if it's a big function and built-in function, for example, here in Python, any library, then you are going to store it in one single name. So it's easier for you to return it rather than writing the whole function and say return the whole thing. It's a disaster. So usually this is the best practice. The best practice is you return the output is stored in one single container. Here, this is called y, and this is y is assigned to the x plus 2. Do you understand now? It's the same exact thing, you lovelies. It's the same exact thing. When it's one line only, you can just return the one line. This is what's most important to understand, that this will take an input from the user. Yeah, either by saying add x and say x is equal to 5, and it's going to give me the same answer. Do you see different ways of doing things? You can say x is equal 5, add 2x. Actually, this is the way I will write it. You know why? Usually when we're writing this code, lovelies, we write this code to connect to a web-based application. In a web-based application, I tell the user insert x. So I tell Victoria insert x. So Victoria says, okay, 9 is my number. 9 is x. So I put x is equal to whatever I get from Victoria, and then I keep this as is. Insert x again. Victoria changes her mind again and inserted at 3. Now x is equal to 3 and add 2x is the same. Do you see why? Okay. So this is why if you find people explaining Python differently, or your professors here in TIU explaining Python differently, telling you it's the same, this is my way, it's their way for a reason. Because x is equal to 5, you actually, this 5 is going to be inserted from a certain user using a certain platform, for example, and giving you the number, or giving you the list, or inserting the data. So you save this all data you got in a container called x, and then you don't need to change this line of code. It stays the same, but always, all the time, x will be changed based on what the user will give you. Also, as I told you, it's just the best practice that x plus 2, you put it as saved, whatever the answer of this, it should be saved in a container. This container is y, and then we return that y, and then as you can see, everything will just run smoothly and beautifully. So this is how you define your own function. Okay? So now please forget about the lambda. Please forget about the lambda functions, and this is it. Best of luck. You gotta study on your own, study in groups. There is a long assignment to go. So, ganbatte, and I'll see you in class. Take care.